page 9, post-trial concluding series. I'll give you a moment. When you go into the jury room to begin your deliberations, your first responsibility is to choose a foreperson. The foreperson should see to it that your discussions are carried on in an organized fashion, that every juror has a fair opportunity to express opinions, and that each juror is treated with respect and dignity. It is your duty to talk with one another and to deliberate in the jury room. You should try to agree on a verdict if you can. Each of you must decide the case for yourself, but you should do so only after you have discussed the evidence with the other jurors. Do not hesitate to change your mind if you become convinced that you are wrong. However, do not change your mind just because other jurors disagree with you. Keep an open mind and freely exchange your thoughts and ideas about this case. Stating your opinions too strongly at the beginning or immediately announcing how you plan to vote may interfere with an open discussion. Please, treat one another courteously. Your role is to be an impartial judge of the facts, not to act as an advocate for one side or the other. Please continue to follow all of my written and verbal admonishments regarding your conduct, as I repeatedly have admonished you throughout these proceedings. Probably more than you wanted to hear me, but nevertheless, you understand it. Do not talk about the case or about any of the people or any subject involved in it with anyone, including but not limited to your spouse or other family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, spiritual leaders or advisors, therapists, spectators, or even total strangers. You must discuss the case only in the jury room and only when all 12 jurors and no other persons are present. Do not discuss your deliberations with anyone other than the other jurors during deliberations in the jury room. Do not access on your own, as a group, or through another person, any dictionary, any Bible, or the internet, or any other resource about this case outside of the evidence and the law presented in this courtroom. Do not access any internet website, including but not limited to any search engine sites such as Google, Ask, Bing, etc., or any social network site such as Facebook, MySpace, etc., or access any blogs, or post any messages or text or tweet anything about this case or the persons or subjects mentioned or involved in it. During the trial, several items were received into evidence as exhibits. You may examine whatever exhibits you think will help you in your deliberations. Certain exhibits will be sent into the jury room with you when you begin to deliberate. If you wish to see any other exhibits, please request them in writing. If you need to communicate with me while you are deliberating, send a note to the bailiff, signed by the foreperson or by one or more members of the jury. To have a complete record of this trial, it is important that you not communicate with me except by a written note. If you have questions, I must contact and speak with the attorneys before I answer. Therefore, it definitely will take a period of time for me to respond. Please remain patient and continue your deliberations while you wait for my answer. I will answer any questions in writing or orally here in the open courtroom. Do not reveal to me or anyone else how the vote stands on the question of guilt or on any other issues in this case, unless I specifically ask you to do so. I reiterate, please do not disclose any numerical breakdown of votes unless I specifically ask. Your verdict must be unanimous. This means that, to return a verdict, all of you must agree to it. Do not reach a decision by the flip of a coin or by any similar act. It is not my role to tell you what your verdict should be. Do not take anything I said or did during the trial as an indication of what I think about the facts, the witnesses, or what your verdict should be. You must reach your verdict without any consideration of penalty or punishment. You must neither consider that subject nor permit it to enter into your deliberations in any way. You will be given guilty and not guilty verdict forms. As soon as all jurors have agreed on a verdict, the foreperson must date and sign the appropriate verdict form and notify the bailiff. please return any unsigned verdict form. Also, please do not write any notes or comments on any verdict form. As to the alternate jurors, the jury soon will begin deliberating, but you are still alternate jurors and are bound by and must follow all of my earlier written and verbal admonishments about your conduct. Do not talk about the case or about any of the people or any subject involved in it with anyone, not even your family or friends, and not even with each other. Do not have any contact with the deliberating jurors. There'll be an exception to that in just a moment in terms of your being brought tomorrow and leaving this afternoon. Do not decide how you would vote if you were deliberating. Do not form or express an opinion about the issues in this case unless you are substituted for one of the deliberating jurors. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Mrs. Benson, please administer the oath to Deputy Jones.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that you will take charge of the jury and keep them together, that you will not speak to them yourself, nor allow anyone else to speak to them upon any subject connected with this case, except by order of the court, and when they have agreed upon a verdict, you will return them into this court? And further, do you solemnly state that you would take charge of the alternate jurors and keep them apart from the jury while they are deliberating on the cause until otherwise instructed by the court?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Jason Jones.
Counsel, may it be stipulated that the jurors will be deemed to have been thoroughly admonished at this adjournment pursuant to my instructions throughout the case, the instructions earlier this morning as well as those in the afternoon, that the jurors will be deemed to be admonished at each adjournment on every day in which they are deliberating, that the court staff and specifically the Sheriff's Department may supervise the jurors, that the alternate jurors and the regular deliberating jurors can be brought in together and be discharged together by the members of the Sheriff's Department, and that the jurors will be deemed to have been admonished and may be excused during periods of recess, brought back after such recesses and adjournments in the absence of the court, counsel, and the defendant. For the people. Yes, for the defense? Yes. The stipulation is accepted. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 4:03 p.m. We're going to take the evening adjournment at this time with those admonitions ringing in your ears. And the Sheriff's Department will make arrangements with you in terms of further proceedings in this case. And you're beginning deliberations tomorrow morning when it is convenient for you. So have a good evening, everybody, and we'll excuse you for the evening and have you come on back tomorrow. Good evening. With you in terms of further proceedings in this case, and you're beginning deliberations tomorrow morning when it is convenient.
So confirmation then from Judge Pastor that the jury will be formally sent out tomorrow evening. The jury effectively being sent out this evening, I guess, but they're going to have a night to think on it. Michael Jackson, we heard, paid with his life for the criminal negligence of his personal doctor. That was what prosecutors told this jury in Los Angeles. But defense lawyers saying there was no evidence that any crime was committed in the singer's death back in 2009. Well, let's get the very latest from our US correspondent, Greg Milam. So they will formally begin their decisions then tomorrow, Greg.
Yeah, probably not very satisfactory for the court that they weren't able to send the jury out this evening to begin deliberating their verdict. It's been the case throughout this trial, despite an attempt at the very start to have the jury sequestered, kept in a hotel so they were away from any discussion of this trial. They've gone home every night and every weekend, and they will go home tonight and come back tomorrow morning before beginning their deliberations. But we had that brief rebuttal from David Walgren, the prosecutor, answering some of the points made by defense lawyer Ed Chernoff in his closing argument. And some grandstanding, you could say, from both sides in what they had to say. That first closing argument from the prosecution a little earlier today, making it very clear they believe there is a strong case against Dr. Conrad Murray and evoking the memory of Michael Jackson's children in what they had to say to the jury.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence in this case is over.